So January's starting to wind down. In this video, we're looking at the long-range outlook because I think more winter is to come in many areas where we've not seen much snow. Clearly, you've been cold across the country. The cold will start to move out, and we've seen snow, again, all the way down to the Gulf Coast. We've been talking about this for the last several days. Still quite a bit of snow on the ground across parts of Georgia, southern Alabama, the panhandle of Florida, even into Louisiana, and a ton of snow here downwind of the lakes into parts of West Virginia too, and some lighter snow, but still nonetheless snow on the ground here across parts of the Midwest. Look what happens as we move this ahead in time. Clearly, you melt the snow here across the South, and then you'll also start to see more snow melt here across the Ohio Valley. The snow stays pretty stubborn here into the mountains of West Virginia, into the Northeast, and into the interior areas, plus up here into Ontario. But look, we start to really get rid of that snow, and I don't know that we get rid of it all here in the Appalachians, but it's been a pretty snowy winter so far in this region, and there may be more on the way too. Across the West, one thing we've not seen is a lot of snow here into the Sierras compared to last year, also into the far Southwest. If you look at the outlook for the next couple of days, you'll notice more snow here. In fact, there's going to be some moisture that moves into parts of Southern California and the Four Corners states. That could put some snow into not only the southern mountains of California, but also into Arizona. We're going to look at some of those details today and why we're seeing that. And we're going to talk about this cold that's retreating and the warm-up we're seeing. Some Pacific air trying to push in here to the western parts of Canada. You can see how that's influencing what's going on here as your Arctic air is really blocked up here to the north. The cold air is going to be pushing out of the south as we head into the weekend. So there it goes. You can see those warmer temperatures here. This is the 850 millibar chart. It's not affected by the daytime fluctuation of temperature, so it's a good way to just sort of look at the cold. And you can see it here. Really, it's up in this region. That's where the bitter cold Arctic air is. Some of it trying to nudge down into parts of the Great Lakes as we head into Sunday. But what you don't see with this setup is a driving force all the way to the Gulf Coast that we've seen lately. Across the West, things do start to change here. We're going to see some that precipitation and a little bit cooler here across the far Southwest. Some Arctic air tries to blast into the Northeast sometime around the middle of next week. And then this is where it gets interesting as we head into the end of the month towards the 1st of February. As our cold air, I think, starts to reload up here into Canada, now you get a boundary that's probably going to set up a little bit further to the north and west. So does your storm track move more like this, right? That may give you more snow into parts of the high plains, maybe even the central plains into the Great Lakes region and the Midwest. Let's wait and see. I think we are far from done with winter. Here's your 6 to 10 day temperature outlook, just for some comparison. Again, I do think there's a warm-up coming, and you can see it on the models too. It's showing that here in that 6 to 10 day time frame here across the central part of the country. Below normal in the Northeast as that northwest flow continues here, but take a look at what happens days 8 through 14. I would argue near normal. If anything, think about what normal looks like the first week of February across this part of the country. It's cold, right? So a pretty good chance of being near normal and cold, I think, and maybe below normal here in the Pacific Northwest as some of that cold air tries to start to push down from Canada. Let's see if it actually makes it into the Pacific Northwest. I'm not completely convinced just yet. If you look at your temperature departures from average in the long-range European weeklies as we head into February, a little bit of a difference here. I'm going to back it up just a little bit. There's some of that warmer air here toward the end of the month, towards the first week of February. These are 7-day averages, so they're flattened out a little bit. But look what the trend is as we head into that first week of February. Now, I know the outlook from the Climate Prediction Center shows near or above normal temperatures, maybe even in the south, but the weeklies are telling a much different story here across the continental U.S. as we head into February. How accurate is this? I mean, I don't know. I give or take a little bit, but the trend is, and that's what I look at when you see these longer range outlooks, and you should too, the trend. And it has been for below normal temperatures into February. I don't know if we get snow all the way to the Gulf Coast again. I think that's a historic event that I don't know that we'll see again, maybe in our lifetimes. Could be surprised, but it's not happening this week or the next week. Here's where we are right now with the jet stream, because this kind of shows the change that we're seeing. Quite a strong jet streak moving out. That's really up in here, that energy that caused the snow across the Gulf Coast. Here's your jet stream kind of coming in like this. You're dipping in the east and you're moving north. Polar vortex up here spinning. That starts to lift towards Greenland. When you've got your troughing here, you're going to start to get ridging building across the eastern U.S., and your temperatures will likely come up as a result in the long range. It may take a little while, but there it goes. It starts to buckle up. We also got this upper low that's moving to the east. That's going to pull some warm air north, and it could actually probably pull that warm air all the way up here into parts of the Great Lakes. So as we see this move to the east, heading into the next week, so we are 1 week away, that could bring temperatures up, and then they crash down behind that, I think. And now your storm track also changes into the west coast with your jet stream now coming here into Oregon, Northern California. That could put some moisture here, and now you got to watch here. This could get really active with your storm track, with something forming here into the Central Plains and then moving northeast. I would watch this time frame. I don't know exactly where it's going to be, if it could be back here, if it's going to be here, but in this type of setup, it would clearly be developing along the east side of this trough if this pattern ends up coming to pass. If you believe that. I don't know that I do or not. I'm going to take it out a little bit further before we look at the precip and just kind of get an idea of the pattern shift we're going to see. Again, this is different, right? Your jet stream screaming into the west, still some troughing here in the east. So that could mean cold temperatures below normal anyway. As your polar vortex sets up here, you're still feeling the influence of it here around the Great Lakes, I think. So that's going to keep the cold air funneling in. It may not just be driving all the way down into Texas, into the deep south with this type of setup. So, yeah, I think it's kind of cold as we head into February. Here's what we're looking at as far as precipitation goes, heading through the rest of the week and then into the weekend. I'm going to move through this really quickly. We're going to keep these snow showers here into the northeast. Here's that cutoff low, and that, by the way, is going to bring some snow and rain here into Southern California, some of which could be heavy, 5 to 10 inches. Snow levels 3,500 to 4,500 feet or so across Southern California. With that cold air loft, you're going to get some snow, relatively low for this part of the country. Heading into next week, we've got another system that's going to bring some snow here into parts of southern Ontario, another shot of cold air too, and it's going to kick the lake effect up once again. And then there'll be some showers here across the Gulf Coast states. Rain showers, no ice here. Light snow here into the northeast, no big snowstorms expected right now. And now we've got this cutoff low that's just down here meandering on its own, really, cut off from the main flow, which is up into this region. And there's also a decent jet on the southern side doing this. So now we're going to tap into some of that. What happens here? I don't know. These cutoff lows are always tricky. Do we end up getting some kind of storm that looks like this? Does it look a little different? Does it look more like what last night's European showed, which was more like this? I think it's still too early. Either way, it looks kind of active around the 1st of February. I'm going to keep watching it because I think there's something there. If you're brand new to the channel, thanks for coming by. I'm Travis. Welcome. I used to be a meteorologist years ago on television, so if I'm hitting the algorithm, you keep seeing my videos, I hope you'll come back and subscribe. So thanks to the thousands of you who have done so over the last couple of weeks. Let's move it forward in time. I think this is a really interesting look. Remember all that cold air I showed you that was bottled up here into parts of Canada as we head into what now, the 4th and the 5th. This is the European. That's a lot of cold air. And if you go back to the forecast model, you can see these tight isobars here at the surface. That's that Arctic air damming up against the Rockies. So this could be some really cold air. And it may not push all the way to Florida, but it could set the stage for some February surprises. And just for kicks, if you take the European weeklies out even further, what you don't see, and now we're into March. Again, these use long-range ensemble guidance. It's kind of all over the place, but you know, I got to imagine that what I don't see is this blasting warm-up here across the east. Something that's different too, much colder across the west. This may be a very stormy March here. I can't believe we're talking about March. So I'll probably get some hate in the comments. I get it. It's long range. It's shoddy at best. And I don't have a crystal ball. I don't have all the answers. But leave me a comment down below. Let me know what you think. Let me know how things are going in your world too. I always love hearing from you guys. All right. See you next time.